Yes, yes, yes.
One, two, one, two.
Morning.
Somebody's echoing in the morning. What's up, everybody? Greetings, greetings, greetings. Welcome to the Remix Morning Show on this fine Wednesday, May 17th, 2023.
Yes.
Jackie, Luke, Mon, Kalaji, Changa, Burn It Down,
Building.
Kim Brown, Jared Ball in the building. Sans the ear doctor this morning.
He is already missed. He is already missed. He is already missed. Big up to the ear doctor.
Hard man business. What's happening, y'all? How y'all feeling out there?
I'm gonna feel better when you get that mic fixed. and you get some headphones on and get that echo out of here. I'm gonna feel way better. I don't know. We'll plug a bit.
The echo may be me. Let me see.
Oh, then I take it back. Happy
One,
to
two.
blame Kalanji for Jackie's errors.
Am I still echoing?
Yes.
Somewhere.
Yes.
Okay. All right. We're gonna fix that.
See, this is why the ear doctors missed. You know what I'm saying? Ear doctor would have had all this shit together.
No, he'd have been saying, no, you all didn't show up in time for sound check. That's what
Right.
he'd have been saying.
Right. I certainly did not. I did not.
I have let me try muting Jackie real quick because I think that is the issue.
There's a massive echo.
I think Jackie would maybe some headphones would help. But I just want to show off the remix in BPM drip. I'm in all white this fine morning.
All right.
You know, all
in the building.
Gear, you know what I'm saying?
Crispy.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
I knew your doctor was gonna be. I'm trying to do the best I can to step.
I'm sorry. Every time I see brothers 50 plus in a white hat, I'm sorry, Frankie Beverly. That's all I see, dog. That's all, and that's not even a diss to the.
No, I take that as an honorific
to the god Frankie Beverly. That's just the white ball cap is just big Frankie Beverly energy. I love it though.
That's what's up. That's what we should call it. The Frankie Beverly remix hat.
Yeah.
Frank B.
And I just want to co-sign just in case there might be anybody confused. He's rocking it right there on his first print, like the first pic you pull up.
Oh,
there he is with the white hat.
There we go. Of course. Woo!
So I just wanted so just in case anybody wasn't clear, what you know.
Who could not have been clear?
I don't know. I just said just in case. I don't know.
Who over here would not be clear on what Frankie Beverly looks like now? Frankie Beverly, that's the God MC.
Or they might not remember his they just might not remember. You never know. And you never know with these youngins.
And Frank is classic. Days. If you don't know Frank, then you violate. That's just law. If you ever been to a black family reunion, you should know Frank. You know what I mean? That's the move. Frank B. Anyway, I'm not echoing anymore, correct?
No, that wasn't you. That was me, and I hope that's resolved.
Yes.
All right.
What's good, party people? Remix morning show. What is this? Wednesday, hump day?
It is hump day.
Okay. Okay. We're only here for an hour today, correct, Jay?
What?
Huh? So, well, we had originally. So what had happened was the original plan for today was that in the second hour we were going to link up with the good folks at Prison Radio and Love Not Fear and help them fundraise. So I think we can still do that, but there was a little bit of some communicative hiccups. So it may happen more completely next week. But what I thought we would end up just doing is in the second hour, just sort of working into whatever we're doing, some encouragement for people to go to Prison Radio to donate and support them. And now that we have Kamau here, all the money should start flowing pretty quick.
So I have a guest scheduled at 9:00. I didn't know we were not.
So then there it is. There
Okay.
it is. So that's so we'll just be working around that. So I think what
Mhm.
we'll end up doing is just saying starting now, even we can even I'll even just do this and put the link out there.
Yeah.
We can just encourage people to go to prisonradio.org to the donate page. And throughout the morning we could talk a little bit more about prison radio, their importance to political prisoners, prison work. Noel Hanrahan's commentary, I mean, this is going back decades now. And they, you know, we're running into some financial trouble, as is always the case with people in struggle. So we wanted to try to help them out a little bit, as so much of the work that I think all of us do, you know, reverberates with what they're doing. And so there was some community, you know, there was some confusion. So we can, I think Noel and others are going to join us next week. I think Joy James is maybe going to pop up this morning, but maybe next week as well. I'm not entirely, I'm honestly not entirely sure. Kalanji, just making sure what's going to happen.
It's all
I
good.
love-
We're gonna raise the money anyway.
Yeah, that's a good look. I like
Whatever we're
this.
gonna do.
So we'll work around Kim. We will work around the interview you have set up. It is no, you know, it is all good. We a stress-free operation around here.
No doubt, no doubt.
And let me just say,
Stress-free,
I really
plan-free.
Plan-free, communication-free, you know what I'm saying? DJ-free, all of that. Yeah.
This is the remix.
This is black root.
Yes.
This is grassroots blackness. That's what
right.
it is.
No doubt,
But
no doubt.
can I just say, I like this. I like, even if the plans didn't, you know, entirely work out the way we wanted it to today, what we're doing, highlighting an organization for not just us as a platform to support, but introducing our viewers to this platform, giving them an opportunity to support them. I really, really like this. And I really feel like we should do this on a regular basis. I like this.
Agree with that. Indeed. And to your point, many of us wouldn't even know what Mumia sounded like
That's
if it
me,
wasn't
man.
for prison radio.
Mhm.
Just you know, all the work that they've put in through the years. And literally, I know that last count there were like over 100 markets that they were sending those commentary to at one point. I don't know what it looks like right now, but you know, different radio joints, podcasts. I mean, we was playing it on our podcast going back to 2014, you know what I'm saying? Contraband Classified, you know, so it's a blessing to the work that Noel and others have put in is incredible, and I stand by that.
Yeah, right on. And shout out to Net for Freeman and WPFW, who you know, many and others there who brought me into that kind of work. And Net for, you know, I think still opens up Voices with Vision every week with Mumia's commentary.
Yep.
You know, so absolutely. And even to the point you had Davey D on the other day, Kalanji. Davey D used to do a lot of the same thing, throwing those commentaries over beats and stuff like that, you know. So yeah, I mean, it's important work. And I saw, you know, well, I think we all saw the message went out that they had some financial issues, and I think, Jackie, to your point, it's kind of an honor to be able to help out a little bit. So I think you're right. We should be doing this on a regular basis. That's a good. And the prophetess has spoken, so therefore it must.
Mrs. Mischief
shall be.
Yes.
In the beginning was the word. Yes.
Oh, and the word was Jacqueline.
Check out Jackie the other day, because I didn't know the history of her journalism. You know what I mean? So she dropped some jewels on Monday as well, along with Davey, that kind of put things in perspective. I think that one of the things that many of us don't know is where we were before here. You know what I'm saying? And what led us to this particular journey, which is kind of important, because then you'll get a better perspective and understanding as to why folks move the way they move.
Yeah, and I gotta reciprocate and thank you very much, Kalanji, for inviting me on. I honestly I say this all the time, and people I really don't know how I get invited to be in the spaces with the people that I'm in. I'm looking at the other people on the screen like I have no idea why anybody wants to know what I have to say. but I'm appreciative. I really am. So thank you very much. And you know you were Abdus's dude. So yeah,
That's my
Oh,
man. That's my guy. That's right. That's
nice.
right. Throw them A's up for Abdus. Y'all know what it is. Word up. Nah, that's a beautiful thing, man.
Well, first of all,
I'm sorry.
let me just
damn.
say a few words
Okay.
of importance. This beeping shit is going to continue for the next couple of days.
Trifling,
I took the
Kamau.
battery out, so that's a start, but it's still beeping.
No.
So.
Then the problem has not been resolved.
I didn't say I resolved it. I just said I took the battery. I mean, I had Khalid do it. He only fell twice, so he's a trooper. He's a trooper. I gave him a little bleed on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Two.
Did you say he only fell twice? Did you say your son only fell twice trying to remove the battery from the smoke detector? Something that his father could easily reach up and do?
You put your child on a ladder.
That is the Brooklyn rule. Any count under 3 falls don't matter.
Sir.
So it's the rules of 3.
It's like get back up. On it. There's a little tear on there. I was like, yeah, you better draw that tear back up. You better get back on that damn ladder. What's wrong with you? 2, I had no idea Mamiya sounded the way he did. So I was like, who's that white man? That's the first time I heard Mamiya. Y'all know it's true. Y'all know it's true. Y'all know it's true. So I was like, oh shit, that's Mamiya. Oh my God. I was like, he got the real radio voice. He's got the classic radio voice kind of thing. But y'all know y'all the same thing y'all said. Y'all felt that same thing.
Listen, you know what, Kamau, you just reminded me there's a message from the Africans. They said you said something about someone's hair. So they're already hot with you. You might want to quit while you're there.
We'll say it again. They hot with who?
They said something about
Mamiya's hair or something. Oh no, I did. I can repeat that too if y'all want to hear it.
You know,
no,
I don't want to.
No, don't repeat it. Don't do it.
Don't repeat
folks in Philly asking me
old.
what's up with that. I'm like, look, I don't even know that dude like that. I just met him.
They want to fight me because I mentioned his locks.
Folks in Philly, like, where he live at? Where he at?
We already saw what happens. Didn't Will Smith tell the world what happens when you talk about a loved one's hair?
Don't tell him that. You know. I already was like, man, listen, I don't even know what he's talking about. I wasn't on that episode. But anyway, before this becomes that episode.
Shameful.
I'll tell folks my address if they want to try to do a little Will Smith action. We got something.
Wow.
Wow. I'm just saying, though. I'm just saying.
You had your curmudgeon cookies this morning, I see. Jesus.
Anyway, welcome to the Remix Morning Show.
You know what I'm saying? Thank you.
You know what I'm saying?
Welcome.
Yes.
All the smoke. Yes. We taking All the Smoke podcast name and theme and all of it this morning.
Just destroyed all the loving vibe, but
I know. I was just like, you know what? It was getting on my nerve. I was like, oh God. I was like, oh, more compliments. Oh, geez.
What is in the water in Brooklyn, man? Why are you this way? Why are you like this?
Everybody's being too damn nice to each other. I'm not down with it.
I mean,
yes. Who's in the chat? Ask me. Okay.
Oh, go ahead. If you don't that already, we off to the race.
I got thrown off. But go ahead.
That's what I said. It's not even.
Somebody asked me to freeform my locks. I don't know what that means, but yeah. But go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say we don't have an ear doctor break, but we can oh damn, we can slap the map and get into some news proper if you all want. And yeah, let me just if I can find a joint. Yeah, let's slap the map. Come on back here to Remix Morning Show.
Morning, everybody, BPMers, remixers. Welcome to the Remix Morning Show. This is the Good Wednesday edition. It's springtime. Aren't you guys happy that it's spring? It is beautiful outside.
Everybody
the sun is shining
yes,
where you are.
Planting the seeds for my garden this week. Today, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
That's
okay.
right.
What you growing?
Planting the Revolutionary Garden. The Revolutionary Garden. That's our good sis Jacqueline Lukman. My name is Kim. There's Kalanji Changa, Dr. Jared Ball. Peace to the ear doctor who is absent today. He shall return. Is he coming back tomorrow? Jarrod, you know?
We didn't fire him.
Cabal?
I don't think he is actually.
Oh man.
I'm under the sneaky suspicion where we are without a DJ this week.
And let me guys assure you that the ear doctor's absence will be felt for today and for tomorrow. Big up to Kamal Franklin there, you know, giving his kids the tough love, I guess. And with the chirp in the background. So if anybody's going to be wondering who on the screen is chirping, it's Kamal. It's Kamal.
I thought that was his Boost Mobile. That ain't his Boost Mobile.
Damn, Kalanja, you date yourself with the chirp with that one, good man. Phones ain't chirped in a while,
man. Hey man, a lot of people got caught off of that chirp. Jared looked like he froze over there. You good, Jared? Look like you smoking what Mike had.
As a matter of fact, that Tyson 2.0 was mighty nice. Mighty nice.
Have you biting cats?
Some grizz. What so Mike Tyson has his own weed strain here, Jared? Is it what's it? Is it an indica or is it sativa?
What I have is technically listed as a hybrid. And
okay.
But I haven't done the math on it. I have a real, and this is definitely no disrespect, and I'm definitely saying this from the safe confines of a digital virtual, you know. But I have a sneaky suspicion this is like a name brand, put his face and name on somebody else's stuff. Surely. And because the deal you got that day was if you got the Tyson 2.0 or another brand that I'll not mention, you know, but and I think that's the partnership. And then when I showed up, and again, I was naive. I was under I almost thought like, are we gonna get to like puff little, like we gonna like, is it gonna be like a
wine tasting?
We're gonna get in a
right?
cipher, you know what I mean?
Right.
And is he gonna
was
be
it
like
a long line of y'all though? Was it like a long line of people waiting?
Well, they not necessarily, because you had to buy a certain amount by a certain time that morning, and then you got to come back later that afternoon for the 2-hour window.
Oh,
so, there was more security than there were people in line.
Oh wow.
Interesting.
Yeah. Wow. And then it was just very quick, you know, and that was that. So I wasn't, I just wasn't sure. Yeah.
I'm kind of hot with you because I really asked you to ask him this question and you didn't ask him. I mean, I'm just like, you know, I'm confused, man. I mean, like I asked Jared, I told Jared to tell Mike Tyson that he thinks that Mitch Green could beat him. Now, I don't know.
Blood Green?
I don't know. I don't know.
The headline.
Jared didn't ask him.
No, because the Remix Morning Show would have started off with the headline, Jared is not here because he's in convalescing in ICU at a local area hospital.
We've been fundraising to Jared's medical expenses.
Exactly.
Everybody can. We need the channel to send thoughts and prayers to Dr. Jared Ball.
We were gonna raise money for prison radio, but we gotta get a couple $dollars for his hospital bills, you know.
I just sung for you though. We'll always love.
Thank you. Yeah, there you go. As long as Kalanji's singing at the service, it'll be all worth it as I'm laid up. But yeah, it was. But as I said, I honestly think had anything popped off, he would not have had to do anything. The security was so deep that I think it would have been a long line of people to get through before Mike had to actually break a sweat. But but nobody want that. Nobody smart want that. I don't know what Mitch was thinking that day. 30 years ago, Mitch is still
some other incident where he had to chase around some people at a water fountain who tried to pop some shit to him 30 years ago or something.
Probably.
He's beating Don King in the head. They got the video.
Well, that too.
On the car.
Well, that would have been deserved, probably. But yeah. Anyway. So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, the connections are made, and you never know. Mike might be popping up around here one day.
Wow.
But I agree, because like 5 years ago, Mike Tyson was broke, so there's no way he went from broke to owning fields of weed and shit like that. So,
and if you do look at the political economy of the the cannabis industry, it's it's a billionaire's game. Like if you don't have that money, you know.
Right.
So yeah, you're right. There's no way. And and they're opening up another one. It's right around here. It's about to be these white boy billionaires that had, you know, the playground is expanding.
And it's strange, like there are not that many dispensaries on my side of town, but when I go to Laurel and Columbia, I'm like, it's a dispensary every half a mile. Like
it's
what?
Gonna be a Starbucks dispensary. Starbucks dispensary.
Well, anyway, let me revolutionary disagree with the state sale of marijuana. If you was always buying weed from your local weed man, continue to support the weed man. Don't give your money to the taxes with your marijuana. Give your hard-earned weed money directly to the people that have been serving you for all these years. You know what I'm saying? We're not paying tax on weed around here. Support your local weed man or weed person.
And
speaking of weed and supporting your local weed man, Howard University. What possessed them to invite y'all peoples out to?
No, but did you see though?
I loved it.
That was a beautiful
not
thing.
Everybody was with that. Not everybody.
Where?
Did you see?
That was a beautiful thing. Those kids. The
and Howard.
Let me pull this up.
Please do, Jared.
Please pull it up. I was bombing on the Howard kids yesterday. I said, did y'all look Joe Biden right there in y'all face and did not say or do nothing?
No,
some of them spoke up, and some of these grads spoke up and wrote a letter here that went for me, you know, even above and beyond, admittedly, what I would have thought was, you know, would have come from some students. I think this is dope. So it just quickly says the Howard University commencement ceremony is a joyous occasion, a celebration of achievement in the face of generational, ongoing, and systemic adversity. For Black students, graduating college is a success beyond measure. We are proud to have attended the illustrious Howard University, our historically Black university, our Mecca. Yet, while we are excited to finish our last endeavor at Howard University, we are definitely angered and exhausted by the many forms of ongoing white supremacist violence in the United States of America and internationally. We are exhausted by the lack of resources we had as Howard students, struggling to keep up with increasing tuition rates and inadequate housing options amidst the corporatization of our board of trustees and the fight to renew students, faculty, and community voting representation within it, let alone the ongoing gentrification of DC at large, to which Howard University and its affiliates are a party. We maintain countless grievances and will not sit silently and allow them to go unrecognized, especially in light of a campaign season. On today, May 13th, 2023, our graduation day and the 38th anniversary of the MOVE bombing, we choose to advocate. When there is no justice, there should be no peace. As advocates, we are unsatisfied with the action or lack thereof from the Biden administration. We call upon President Joseph Biden to do more than ask for investigations and observe our struggle. We call for immediate action. We need housing, we need financial assistance, we need loan forgiveness, and above all, we need consequences for our murdered siblings and justice for the living. We need a demilitarized planet, starting with the heart of the empire here. We need an end to all immoral and unjust systems, especially capitalism. We need action. We need it now. Our planet, can't wait. Neither can we. And they weren't finished.
They went in.
No. You got to get to the political prisoner part too.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Where's the next page? How do I not get to the next page? Doesn't it? I had to. Okay. Why isn't it going to the next? It's right there. Oh man.
Howard University graduating class of 2023. I apologize. I stand corrected. My bad.
Hold on. I don't know what's going on here.
No, they're organizing.
Yeah, because they do. They mention they call out the on the I don't know why it's not showing up. But anyway, it's right here. It says the Howard University graduates for solidarity demand that President Biden act with urgency because we cannot wait. It is and always has been a state of emergency. We demand the release of political prisoners, including Mumia Abu-Jamal and Imam Jamil Al-Amin. We demand consequences and recognition for the murders of Jordan Neely and Tortuguita and Keenan Anderson and Tyree Nichols and so many others. We demand the end of university government funding to the Zionist entity that carries out yet another massacre in Gaza and throughout Palestine, approaching 75 years of the Nakba. and against Howard University's shameful partnership. We stand against Howard University's shameful partnership with the Department of Defense and the country's shameful partnerships with fascist regimes like Marcos Jr. in the Philippines. We understand U.S. imperialism to be the greatest threat to life on the planet, and we demand to live. We demand structural change so that all African people, wherever we are found, can live full, happy lives. We as graduates stand united for change, for Black lives globally. Joseph R. Biden, you can't speak to us if you don't stand with us. You cannot celebrate with us if you do not see us.
Look for those two brothers and that sister on Black Power Media next week. Rocking.
Here's some of the
beautiful thing.
A couple of them.
That was dope.
Yeah, just a couple of the images, because some students did stand up and turn their backs to Joe Biden.
I was hoping you pulled that up.
Excuse me. So this is one image where one of the students standing up while Biden is speaking. Not only did he stand up and turn his back to Biden, but he has this sign on his mortarboard: Biden and Harris don't care about Black people.
That's important right there, Kim, because not Kim, Jackie, there were a number of Negroes online talking about how shameful it was for them to disrespect VP Harris at her alma mater. Let me tell you something. The United States is the alma mater for the natives that lived on this land. The continent of Africa and all the other places where the United States, including Harris and Biden, has disrespected and violated. So who cares about you talking about them coming to this, the graduates of this institution and corporation putting these other folks in check who came out of the same institution and corporation. So for those of you who looked at it like she was disrespected, she deserved to be disrespected because she's disrespected us as a people.
Absolutely.
Right.
And he wasn't that wasn't the only student. These are two more students. This student held up a sign: a Black child was lynched yesterday, and Jordan Neely was their name. I can't read this sign. And if it seems weird that, you know, they have like crumpled up pieces of paper, they were trying to make sure they didn't get kicked out of their own commencement. If anybody knew they were going to protest the president, because you know they do that, right? If they know that students, that graduates are going to disrupt the commencement, they kick them out, and they won't let them walk. So they planned this, they were organized, they were coordinated, big on these students.
I agree. We owe them a little bit of reading. We didn't know about that part yesterday, so big up and big apologies for the students.
Big apologies,
that did something, a letter and everything like that. Yes.
Yeah, they came back. They came strong with that. Yeah, absolutely. Apologies, corrections.
Okay, y'all get to be the real HU again. My bad. Sorry, Hampton. Turn back to Howard.
No, I think there's sincere forces within all ranks. Now we're not just going to let the HBCU off the hook, because we know damn well, like you said, the reason why they came in there with the crumpled pieces of paper was because had they came with signs, they wouldn't have been let in, or they would have had to run those signs. So definitely salute to those who are brave enough to come with stiff resistance wherever they need to. So, you know, that's really dope.
And just a little nod to the faculty that encouraged and taught and prepared those students to make those decisions. Because I know it's not all of them, but there's one or two up in there that probably put a little bug in somebody's ear, you know, so shout out to them too.
And they are.
Hey, right on, Jupiter. Appreciate you for accepting the
Yes.
The apology. So right on.
That's some good news to get the day started. What else we have popping today on this glorious?
I sent you guys a couple of stories.
Okay. Yeah,
and anybody talk? I mean, and unfortunately, none of my stories include the question I'm about to ask of my comrades. Anybody know what's going on with the Nigeria elections?
I honestly have not been paying attention to it, but it's something I'll probably focus on today, because you know that is a big deal. There's just so much tomfoolery going on in the world. It's hard to keep track of all of it.
I was reading some stuff online that I wasn't able to substantiate that perhaps a U.S. led convoy or a U.S. backed convoy got attacked. I don't know anything about that. Sean Kuti may have been detained, or they have been requesting his detention. So I was like, can anybody explain to me what's going on in Nigeria? But maybe we'll save that for tomorrow. Maybe somebody can come on and help us out with that one.
Yeah, I mean, NPR is reporting that. I mean that gunmen attacked a U.S. convoy and killed 2 consulate staff and 2 policemen. I don't, I mean,
is he down in Nigeria?
In Abuja, gunmen on Tuesday targeted the convoy of U.S. Embassy staffers in Southeast Nigeria, killing 2 of its local workers and 2 policemen. The police said so.
Police said,
right. Yeah. So, the U.S. State Department, always trustworthy and accurate, said its personnel in Nigeria are working with nation security agencies to investigate Tuesday's attack. The security of our personnel is always paramount, and we take extensive precautions when organizing trips to the field.
What's the U.S. convoy doing in Nigeria in the first fucking place?
Why is Nigeria
peacekeeping and democracy?
Right. Why is Nigeria considered the field of any U.S. entity? Get the fuck out of Nigeria. How about that? How about get AFRICOM out of Nigeria and stop using other countries as any kind of field or theater that the United States government claims? Get out.
I've always liked that line that Kamal's favorite white man once said, that to an empire like the United States, there are no borders. Everywhere is its backyard per se. So I think that still holds.
Well, I know that
he was on Epstein's plane.
So are we rooting for anybody in Nigeria? Here's my question: who are we rooting for? Obviously we root for
That's not necessary. That wasn't necessary, Jay. That was unnecessary.
Seun Kuti was arrested the other day as well, allegedly assaulting a police officer in Nigeria. So, definitely shout out to Seun Kuti, son of Fela, for his resistance.
And Kim, I pulled up your story, so you let me know what you wanted to lead with.
Oh, let's go with the first one since we got, our learned folks on here with us. University of Maryland is going to offer anti-blackness as a minor starting this fall. Anti-black racism as a minor.
Ooh.
Should I? I was like, at first, when I read the headline, I read it wrong. I said, it says UMD to offer new anti-black racism minor. I'm like, did you reteaching the racism? What's the wording? I was a little
teaching U.S. history.
They could be teaching the history of the University of Maryland.
Right. They didn't even have to teach the whole U.S. They just stick to Maryland.
Right.
They could have stuck right with that.
Is there a connection to Black studies in this? Like, why? Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. It says no, go ahead, Kamal.
Oh, no, I was going to say quickly that, so it says starting this fall, students can challenge discriminatory policies and promote a diverse community in a new anti-Black racism minor offered by the University of Maryland. The minor will be the first of its kind across the country, according to Jeanette Snyder, an assistant research professor with the university's Anti-Black Racism Initiative. It is rare to find minors that specifically target anti-Black racism at other institutions, she said. In the minor, students can take classes to understand discriminatory policies in different settings and then challenge these policies in a capstone. This will help students recognize and prevent anti-Black racism.
Yeah, I'm not feeling that.
You're not too confident that that's going to change racism?
Because this feels like money got thrown at a program after the George Floyd thing. This is like trickle down money. It feels like it, and it doesn't. It's unmoving. That's why I was asking, why isn't Black studies just being as a field, as a department being supported, which is I think a more appropriate institutional way of addressing all of this. The idea that there have been no courses taught at the University of Maryland about the impact of policy, the negative impact of policy on Black people, to me sounds unrealistic. I've known people that taught there. I taught in the Black Studies department there myself. At one point, I don't know how this adds anything new, but admittedly I'm only hearing about this just now. So
it is going to be part of the Black Studies program, the African American Studies program.
Okay, good. Well, good. I mean, that to me is a step up. That's an improvement.
The other thing they mentioned here is it says this minor comes at a time where recent anti-Black hate bias reports have shaken the campus community. From February to April, anti-Black racism has been the most reported bias to the university's Office of Diversity and Inclusion, which, of course, we know in Florida no longer exists. There were 10 reports in April and 13 reports in March related to racial slurs or interactions against the Black community, according to the Office of Diversity and Inclusion.
What do they do with this minor? Do they get a job at a nonprofit and say we know Blackness now? I mean, how does this work? How does this advance? I mean, I'm confused. Is it something that's going to help to benefit them or the community itself, or is it just something?
I'm hoping that white students take this. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is I'm hoping that really more non-Black students participate in this anti-Black minor offered now by the University of Maryland, because they need it. I mean, not to say that we don't need it, but I think non-Black folks need to be schooled in what anti-Black racism is and have a broader perspective of it. But the University of Maryland, I mean, historically, it was a segregated institution. It did not allow Black people to learn on the campus for a while. I can't even remember when University of Maryland desegregated. I'm going to say maybe in the 60s, 50s, 60s. Because I know Thurgood Marshall tried to apply to University of Maryland Law School and he was not permitted. In fact, I think maybe this was 5 or so years ago, there was a murder on the campus of University of Maryland. A white student murdered a young man who had just recently graduated from Bowie State University, who was on campus just hanging out. And he was killed on the campus of the University of Maryland in College Park, Maryland. Like that, it's still almost a semi-stunning thing to utter aloud that there was a racist murder in Prince George's County, Maryland in the 21st century, which goes to show you maybe we're not so advanced as we think we are. But no, Maryland is historically, the college that is, and the state has historically had lots of issues with white supremacy and racism. So, I mean, I know it's not a huge deal, but I went in the zero-sum game of something being something versus nothing. You know what I mean? Yeah, are we glad for something, or is it just not enough?
I definitely get what you're saying, but I'm just like, where we are right now, I just feel like white folks are literally really taking advantage of our pain. And I think that a lot of them are coming in as professionals or masters at what the problems and the issues are, and they start these different nonprofits which are funded by state entities themselves, funded by corporations, and next thing you know, well, I took this course over at so this qualifies me now. And then they'll be writing more books and so on and so on. That's kind of how I'm looking at it right now, just based off of the climate that we're in right now. So I see where, in hopes white folks will understand racism. But to me, if you are in the United States in this particular era and you're not clear about what racism is or not, and you have to go to a university to take a course, then that's a problem in and of itself. That's just my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And to Ronaldo Johnson's point, he said skepticism appreciated, but don't you think it's important to address the depths of anti-Black propaganda? That's the other thing. I don't trust the people in this class, in this curriculum, to actually do that. I don't trust these liberal institutions to actually address the depths of anything, because they historically have not. I mean, these institutions have had the opportunity to actually tell the truth about the founding of this country, about the anti-Blackness in the founding of this country, the genocide this country is founded on. And all of the ways that every law that has been passed in this country has been used and weaponized against Black folks and indigenous folks. So they haven't done that already. I don't with just teaching history. You cannot teach, well, you obviously you can because they've done it, but if you really want people to understand the depth of anti-Black propaganda and anti-Black racism in this country, all you have to do is tell the truth about the damn history when you teach it. And since these people have not done that, then I don't trust the same group of people who have not taught the actual history correctly to get this right. And I know this is going to be a very unpopular thing, because I know some folks on here are very nonviolent, and bless your heart. But if I had a student, a child on a college campus, and some white kid is opening up his mouth saying some stuff out their mouth to my kid, and I have to frame it this way because I don't want other folks to get in trouble. My advice to my child would be, I got bail money. You punch that motherfucker in the mouth. And you don't need to report shit. Don't go to a bunch of white people on campus. Oh, the white student said he called me and that. No, punch him in the mouth.
In the words of Malcolm, if Jackie's a Christian, and if she's a Christian and she say that, you know what it is for me. That was Malcolm. But anyway,
going to report some words to some DEI office. What that gonna do?
I'm thinking about the University of Pennsylvania with the MOVE children, with those remains or whatever that haven't been accounted for yet. You know, the remains from the MOVE bombing 38 years ago this past Saturday. So to me, I'm very skeptical about anything that the academy's putting out these days. You know, I trust a few professors I happen to work with, but that's about it. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry, Jim.
But no, it's cool. I mean, sort of that was my point about what Ronaldo's question was, or comment was, that I don't, and that's why I'm saying I'm glad it's being developed within the existing Black Studies department. That because I think organized, institutionalized, staffed collective approaches over time are, in these settings, the much better option. There's not going to be a one semester course or program that people could go through, get their little anti-Blackness certificate, and then go out into the world and create a revolutionary society. I think what if anything, what should be going on is, and I don't know how College Park works, there should be more compulsory involvement in Black Studies courses for everybody that goes through there. You shouldn't be able to graduate from these institutions without some sort of track, I think, of study that appropriately contextualizes the university within this society and its abuses against Black people, and then and others. So So
that's why, you know what? It's interesting that you said it, because I'm like remembering, obviously decades ago, my college experiences. And it was mandatory to take Spanish, right? But it wasn't mandatory to take certain classes about either history or Black history, that kind of thing, which obviously speaks to the concerns of what the school cares about, right? And I'm not saying that they shouldn't have mandatory foreign language, but I agree, like it should be something in there, because for the most part, like for these classes, white folks ain't gonna be taking these classes. Like they're gonna be like, they know all they need to know about anti-Black bias because they practice it every day and they're not giving it up, right? So they're not like, they're like, that's not for me, whatever. So,
but I do remember. Sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
No. I was going to say quickly, I think something that's mandatory that could make a lot of sense, particularly and obviously, like, we're in a time period where there's all this fake propaganda pushback around teaching Black history. And what Black history means, and so that'd be very interesting to think about or think through.
Yeah.
And at College Park, I mean, they have a very diverse student body. You get people from all over the world there, and so I would like the idea that all of them got to go through that. I don't think anybody should be from anywhere in the world in this country at these universities and not learning what Black people have experienced and continue to experience, and then maybe encourage some. No, right on. Thanks for the super chat, Ronaldo. So yeah, yeah. But you're right. At Morgan, you have to take, if I remember correctly, students have to take one African diaspora and one Black studies intro course somewhere in their passage through the system.
It's crazy because I thought that would be, and that's being naive. I mean, you would think that every HBCU, Black history should be basic. I mean, that's just like, English. Like, look, this is who you are supposed to be.
That's not what they're there for.
No.
Yeah, I already
remember,
know.
the Black Studies movement did not start on HBCU campuses.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
That's always important.
Most of them aren't even, as we pointed out in previous shows, they're not even named after Black people. So that's just a whole nother program. So we know what they're doing. So I don't, for me, I don't know. I wouldn't even want to quote unquote force them to have to study us. I can care less about them studying us because I don't think it actually changes anything in my opinion. But
I disagree. I think
do it anyway.
I think the white folks that really take seriously anti-racism, I think it's valuable. You know what I mean? Because how else we have to convert hearts and minds. You know what I'm saying? So if it happens even just a little bit at a time, I mean, obviously we would prefer it for them to recognize our humanity en masse. But they've been conditioned for generations not to do so. So if even a few of them take the time to take the red pill or the green pill, I don't know how the shit goes, but to awaken themselves, I'm with that.
I think they're serious. They're gonna seek it out anyway. I think that whatever you're serious about, you're gonna research, you're gonna look for it. With these times and climates, even folks who decided to support hashtag movements, you know what I'm saying? They made some type of effort. So if you're not, and I get what you're saying, but I mean, that's like, to me, a lot of folks talk about, if Black folks only knew their history, then it would change their mind and change their ways. And we know that's not true because there's a lot of Negroes out here who take the history, they embrace it, and they still roll with the system itself. They look to maintain that particular system. So I get it, but I don't know, man. It's like with CRT with me. I'm on the fence with that as well because my thing is, this is CRT right here. Come to BPM. You know what I mean? Research what's already out here. We don't have to sit there and beg and borrow and ask them to, recognize our humanity. If you can't recognize our humanity without having to go to school for it, that's kind of weird to me, man. I mean, I'm just like, where do you live? And what are you really into? But that's just my take. I could be wrong.
And I'm glad you brought up the CRT thing because I feel like the way liberals and white people in general responded to the whole fake controversy about CRT pretty much informs how I feel about these, new curriculums on anti-Blackness and, these specific things, because none of the so-called good white liberals actually stood up and said, whatever it is y'all are claiming CRT is, that's not it. It's not that's not what CRT is. CRT is not, critical race theory is not taught in K through 12 schools. It is literally a law school type of analysis. You unless you are going to law school, you wouldn't even be exposed to critical race theory. The good white liberals nowhere pointed that out. None. So if they can't even stand up for the most basic truth in that regard, I don't trust these people with any other kind of curriculum to train the whites on too much of anything else. And I think that the kind of mistrust that we have of these liberal institutions to get it right in regard to telling our history, I think once again puts us in a place where we need to seriously be having, we really need to be establishing our own institutions of education for our people. that there needs to be community political education around these issues, as well as in our own families, educating our kids. We shouldn't be sending our kids to these universities without a supplemental education in radical Black studies, the study of radical Black struggle and international struggle. That absolutely needs to happen. And if the whites come along and they're that they want to be a part of that and they want to learn more, fantastic, great. And the rest of them mugs, they can stay over there. But I just have such a mistrust of the white liberal institutions to get any of this right.
We should have a mistrust. I mean, but I think one does not negate the other per se, right? So all the things that we should do, we should do anyway. We need to be doing, but I'm not mad at anything. Again, without more investigation, I have, this is a blip of a story, so I don't think any of us have all the insides of who's putting us together or whatever. But I'm not mad at anything, at least that tries to move folks away from racism, because obviously I don't think that's what the country is. The country is not trying to do that anyway. The education systems are not trying to do that anyway. The fact that we have, generation upon generation upon generation of white supremacy, a few courses aren't going to correct that. But I'm not mad at the courses or the things that happen that may light up somebody's mind because they never got that information before, right? We all know that people get politicized or radicalized or start thinking about the world through different vantage points or different ideas, and we don't know what reached them. So I'd rather have them than not. But obviously, I don't think anybody thinks they're like going to be the solution, because it's not like they're going to be mass implemented anyway. In fact, the very sort of history that we're going through right now is that we are retreating. We, as in the larger country, is retreating back into an educational system that is more overtly white supremacist. So these little blips are actually in the opposite direction of any kind of liberal swing around teaching Black history or the like. If anything, a lot of these areas around the country, obviously particularly in southern areas, but not exclusively by any means, are retreating from any type of discourse on Black history, which opens up even more so the can of worms of what white supremacy will be able to produce in the most extreme fashions, because the teaching that they will get at their schools will be neutral to right wing, but the teachings they're going to get at their home is going to be extremely right wing in terms of what their parents lay out for them and believe and say to them, what they get from their other friends around the block and shit like that. So I take it all, you never know what sparks folks. So I'd rather have them than not. But obviously, I don't think there are any solutions to anything.
I would love to see that being taught in elementary school, because I think that by the time you get to university, you've had your experiences, you've been indoctrinated a little bit heavier than ever. So if it's going to be mandatory, I say start young. You know what I mean? Because then you might have more of an opportunity to embrace what it is that some folks are hoping for. So I would say that, but otherwise, I mean, really, quite honestly, I can care less whether they embrace us or not. My concern is, I hate to sound like, well, I'm just going to say it. I mean, my concern is our race first. You know what I'm saying? I'm concerned with African people first, and then everything else, comes after that. I think that, we want other people to accept us oftentimes and to join in our fight and our struggles and our missions. And we haven't quite got it right amongst each other just yet. And I think it creates confusion, and we look to other people for leadership. I've been in plenty of situations where, we're organizing or whatever, and folks would automatically go to certain individuals because of race, complexion, whatever the case is, and just assume that this is leadership. Even when you go to certain businesses or corporations, you automatically assume that the white guy is the boss. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm thinking that if they're gonna jump into something like that, then certainly start at an early age.
So MSNBC stole my shit again. I don't see my name on here.
That ain't Jared.
I wanted to put this story out there because I thought it was a good counterpoint. This is what. So I wanted us to talk about it, but I feel like people like you, Jay, and I'm too old. I don't know. I don't know who the fuck these people are. But I feel like, speaking of people get their education from all through, not necessarily in schools, but also on some of these platforms, and whoever this particular reporter is. And again, this is MSNBC, so they're going to have their own biases or ideas. But it seems extremely interesting the way this is written around how right-wing ideology is seeping into or is becoming part of, how Black entrepreneurs or Black hip hop folks talk and explain the world to other people who's sitting there taking in their ideas or soaking in their ideas. So it says the Black culture platforms that push right-wing extremism, and I'll just read a brief part of it. It says
Black culture platforms right-wing extremism
being used to spread right-wing extremism, or that push right-wing extremism. And it says at the time, it says, let me just read this first part. I was going to do that, but it says in a readout blog from a little over a year ago, I warned a few blogs and gossip platforms that ostensibly serve Black audiences being used to spread right-wing propaganda. At the time, I specifically mentioned the Shade Room, Media Takeout, and World Star Hip Hop as examples of platforms I found to have spread right-wing talking points meant to discourage Black people from voting, pushing bigoted claims about LGBTQ people, and spreading misinformation about COVID-19. It said, unfortunately, there are new reports underscoring my point. Media Matters, the Progressive Media Watchdog, published a report last month about hip hop and Black culture podcast No Jumper. Its creator is Adam, I think it's Grand Mason, who's known as Adam22, who apparently is a white boy. He's built a platform that fused misogyny.
I remember Adam22 is and I'm sure he's doing this on purpose. Remember, Adam22 is that code number for the police code from one of those early TV shows.
Yeah. I thought it was Adam 12.
That was Adam 12.
Oh, my bad. Okay, my bad. I take it back. Thank you.
Close enough.
I was like this. I thought he was doing that. You're right. Okay, Slick.
I still don't think it's coincidental. I think it's just one number away from the obvious connection.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Adam 12. You're right. You're right.
I
was ready. I'm ready to jump on these motherfuckers.
It's built a platform,
12, baby. Yeah.
That's fueled by misogyny and gang culture, usually involving Black youth. It says through crass interviews and coverage. And it says No Jumper is apparently taken on a more explicitly racist turn. According to Media Matters, it says over the last year, No Jumper has delved into platforming viral hate figures, including white nationalists, neo-Nazi, misogynists, and notorious anti-Semites. The show has a massive reach on social media with 4.5 million YouTube subscribers, 1.2 million Twitter followers, 3 million Instagram followers, and 2.1 million TikTok followers. Clips from the podcast are also available on Snapchat. It says, additionally, clips of viral hate figures appearances on the show have been posted on TikTok. And Graham Mason, again, who is white, now invites white supremacists and racists onto a show that has many Black staff members and has been born out of covering hip hop and Black culture. The transitional period for the podcast comes at a time when Graham Mason faces criticism for reports of past predatory behavior. So I don't think I need to read much more of it, but obviously the claim is that a lot of these platforms are centering. It said the Shade Room, the author quotes Republican Governor Ron DeSantis and other right-wing figures, so that they're giving light or giving space for these right-wing ideas to be displayed or again, be brought into the larger Black community through, young folks who are into hip hop or young folks who are trying to find out more about Black culture, but they'll get their ideas and they'll start getting informed. And obviously this isn't the only way in which these ideas are getting into Black culture. There's other platforms that do it too. But the fact that, so-called, youth or hip hop geared platforms are also putting out a lot of these ideas is something that needs to be, concerned or talked about.
All of these dudes, the Vlad TVs, the all of these, and then the Black versions, and this is, so I was overdoing it in a little bit, but the Black versions of this that I know I've been focused on a lot lately do the same thing. The Earn Your Leisures, the $100 million worth of games. All of these folks are Black either literally black people or black styled projects that are meant to target black and young white audiences with this cool blackness that is just a wrapping for very conservative capitalist white supremacist reactionary ideas, and they're all over the place. And it's some of it, with all due respect, I know some of us disagree on this platform, but there is this overlap with the anti-vax crowd, we see the version with the birther or the patriot movements, where you get black versions of, I don't need no birth certificate and I don't need no, ID and all this other stuff. I'm my own nation and all this other. They're actually white supremacist ideas that get some sort of black wrapping. And this is, I think, a major, major problem. And it should get called out even more. So,
and I want to add that Ricky Ryan pointed out that Shade Room is run by a wealthy Christian conservative Nigerian couple. So that explains that. But then when we look at these platforms on social media, whether it's Twitter, YouTube, whatever, of these black men who are very anti-black women, like Kevin Samuels, and to a greater degree, but maybe more people are not familiar with him, Tommy Sotomayor, who is still on that tip. But even black women who are on social media shaming other black women for being too fat, for being unhealthy, for being quote unquote loose. In my opinion, that's the same thing. They may not be backed by, major right-wing funding sources, but they're absolutely pushing a very right-wing respectability politics. The problem is black people, particularly black women, kind of ideology, and all of these folks absolutely, I think, do push a very right-wing agenda that it's really hard to push back on, because it's because we can all look at folks. Well, let me just say, because it's easier for people to individualize our problems and blame us for our suffering, than to look at the actual system, which we understand that, conservatism doesn't do. The conservatism does make people's problems individual.
The thing is, the thing that I just found weird was it was coming from MSNBC. I unite with what's being said, but it's just like,
whatever. MSNBC is the truth. Stop. I will not have that slander. So, but listen, speaking of the truth, I think we Kim has a guest coming up. I think we should put the ear doctor to work and take a quick ear doctor break. And then come back with Kim's guest. Is that cool, everybody? I think the ear doctor shouldn't get away from having to work this morning. I don't see why
that's right.
That's
right. Working.
So we'll take a quick ear doctor break and come back with Kim and a special guest right here at the Remix Morning Show. So don't go anywhere, and hit that like, share, and donate, all that stuff. Get Kamau his money. Peace. Back in a second.
So let's keep it moving. How about I spit something for the crowd there? Check this out. All right, here we go. Yo. I'm a dead ringer for a king or pharaoh. Chief shooting the arrow. Blood in my bone marrow very. Any mean type necessary on the mic. And I might not always say what you like. You be alright though. Cause music's supposed to help you grow. Make you high when you low. Bring the light what you don't know. So check your ego at the door. I don't care if you a scholar, you dumb, rich or poor. The more the merrier, man. The bigger the better. This style's for free, so keep your cheddar. My heart can't measure. The pleasure's all mine. I'm blessed by the gods to put word to rhyme. Confining no religion, no Euro superstition. I deal with the masses without division. I know how to listen, so with that I gain wisdom. To my elders and ancestors, thanks for vision. I risen like a phoenix out the ashes of Trenton. But it's not just the city, it's the world I'm representing. So from right here to back there, this side, that side, y'all everywhere. Say yeah, yeah, say yeah, yeah, say yeah, 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 yeah. Haha, we having a good time.
That got us good and fired up. Welcome back, everybody. It's the Remix Morning Show here exclusively on Black Power Media. I'm Kim Brown. I'd like to welcome my guest this morning. We are joined today with Jaleesa Jackson, who is the interim executive director of the Atlanta-based ARC Southeast, which provides funding and logistical support to ensure that Southerners receive safe and compassionate reproductive care, including abortion care. Jaleesa is also a founder of Decolonial Feminist Collective, Decolonial Feminist Collective. Jaleesa, I certainly appreciate you making some time to be with us this morning because, well, for one, on my platform, Burn It Down with Kim Brown, we are supporting the ARC Southeast for our abortion fund. And I'm just telling you, Jaleesa, ever since we're coming up now on a year since Roe versus Wade had been overturned, and the attack on women's bodies, in particular Black women's bodies, as a result of all these draconian laws targeting reproductive health and access to abortion care, is really having a detrimental effect. The ARC Southeast, you guys are tweeting out so many stories yesterday, and I pulled up a couple of them. Oh, I don't know if we have if Jared can push some buttons behind the scene, but one story out of Texas talked about a woman who had to go into sepsis before a hospital would provide abortion care for her. There's also been a recent study coming from I believe, University of California at San Francisco in conjunction with UT Austin, two reproductive research groups there, that found that ever since last year, ever since the Supreme Court decision came down, that pregnant women's health outcomes have decreased with the inability to get access to abortion care. So I know there's a lot to toss at you this morning, Jaleesa. So, well, first, like I said, thank you so much for being here. And let's get into what you have seen in the work that the ARC Southeast has done since these abortion restrictive laws have gone into place, particularly in southern states, in Georgia, most recently Florida, Mississippi led the way. What have you been seeing on the ground?
Yeah, thank you for having me, and good morning, everybody. Thrilled to be with y'all today and to share a little bit about what we're seeing. So yeah, you're right. The effects of abortion bans fall hardest on those who are already existing at the margins. And I think it's important to name that ARC Southeast as an organization exists because of the barriers that were existing prior to the overturn of Roe, right? Those of us in the reproductive justice movement have always been saying that Roe is not enough, right? Like legality doesn't equal access, especially for Black people in this country. And so abortion funds exist to help catch people when when we experience state failures, especially as it relates to abortion care. But since the overturn of Roe, what we've seen is a significant decrease in our number of callers because of confusion around whether or not folks can access care altogether. Is abortion overruled across the country? And the news cycle certainly doesn't help with providing clarity to people. That's one thing. The other thing that we're seeing is people are having to travel further away from their home communities to access care. In Georgia alone, about half of the counties do not even have access to OBGYN. And this is when we're just talking about reproductive health care more broadly, right? For those who are pregnant and would like to become parents and would like to carry to term, there's not an existing infrastructure even to help those people, as evidenced by the maternal mortality rates. So since the overturn of Roe, we're seeing that people have to travel further, which means that they have to take time off from work, right? Folks don't have access to paid time off. Atlanta is the #1 city for income inequality. And across the South, we see economic exploitation falling hardest on Black folks, Black workers, right? And so recognizing that it's not just pushing abortion access further away from people's homes, it's the sort of hidden costs that are associated with traveling longer distances. Most of our callers at ARC are already parenting children. Over 70% of them are already parenting children, which means that they have to coordinate childcare if they need access to abortion care services. We have people on our health line that say, like, I have 2 children at home. I'm already living paycheck to paycheck. I'm barely able to meet the most basic human needs that my children have, as it relates to housing, as it relates to education. when we talk about safety and security in our communities, right? And so what abortion bans do is make more impossible for parents to show up for their already existing children. And what these bans have done is place a tremendous economic strain on Black people and pushing abortion access out of reach for some folks altogether, which is why we say that these bills are forced birthing bills, right? And there's a long legacy in our country of breeding and forced birth, right? When we think about enslavement, right? And so we can kind of see the linkages, right? The state is really savvy in sort of re-articulating some of the oppressive ways that bodily sovereignty has been removed from our people. And the abortion bans we see and the anti-trans legislation that we see are the latest iterations of that sort of genealogy of oppression in the United States and beyond.
And I appreciate you making that distinction, because about people who are sometimes seeking abortion care already have kids. We sort of have this stereotype of the teen mother, somebody who's experiencing pregnancy perhaps for the first time and doesn't have a family. But no, oftentimes it's people who already have children who are making an informed decision for themselves about how they want their family care to go, and maybe another child is just not in that equation. But I wanted to focus on something that you just said regarding forced birth, because some people, and something that is eschewed a lot in right-wing talking points and sometimes gets repeated by our people, is that Black babies are being aborted out of existence. I even saw billboards, I think when I was living in Missouri, disgusting shit, like a big billboard of a Black woman or a Black child, and it says that black babies are 5 times more likely to be aborted. Can you share with us or dispel some of this misinformation?
Yeah, definitely. And that's a really important thing to bring up. And you're right, there is this sort of repurposing of right-wing talking points. And I think it's through connecting the dots that we're able to really tease some of that out. But yeah, there was a billboard campaign that was sort of started by the right wing and picked up by some of our folks that said things like really flagrant things like the most dangerous place for a Black child is in the mother's womb, right? And we know, we see the headlines day to day about police violence, like how flagrant and egregious a statement like that is, considering the terror that Black parents, Black birthing people are faced with raising Black children. I'm a Black parent. I have 2 children myself. And I also, was a person who got pregnant as a teenager. And so I see these issues as deeply connected to other ways that the state is failing folks, right? When we think about what it means to be forced to carry a pregnancy to term in a country that has really high maternal mortality rates. And so it's really dangerous actually to give birth in this country because of the medical industrial complex, because of the legacies of white supremacy that have continued to inform how care is performed. And everyone has heard the stat, or many people have heard the stat, that Black women, Black birthing people are 3 to 4 times more likely to die in childbirth. I myself had 2 really close calls when I was giving birth. But I also think it's important to think about pregnancy in its as a state of being is being criminalized, right? And so the talking point is around caring for Black children, but we know that that's not true because we have evidence that that's not true. We can look at our foster care system. We can look at the foster care system as a way that the state separates families, right? We can look at our failing education system and the removal of actual historical facts from education to confuse our young people. And so there's all of this information that Black children are not cared for by the state. And so I think that when we look at abortion rates, when we even say at ARC that the majority of our callers are Black people, it's because they are Black parents, and abortion bans are concentrated in the South, where we know most Black people are concentrated, right? And so I think that it's through understanding that and the legislation that's being forced through, despite residents of these states I'm of the belief that we occupy an internal colony, but as quote unquote citizens of the states, despite public opinion being that folks think that people should have access to care. And as you just illuminated, right, like what happens when it's criminalized is that when people need it as a life-saving procedure, it becomes more difficult to access because doctors are afraid of also facing that criminalization. There's some recent research that's come out of Duke University that indicate that the maternal mortality rates will increase drastically, potentially up to 33% for Black birthing people. And so I just think that, and not to also mention that Black child mortality rates are incredibly high in this country. And so those who are really concerned about, the life chances of Black children should be really concerned about the conditions under which Black birthing people, the ones who are seeking abortions, are forced to sort of raise Black children in this country. And I think it's through really operationalizing an intersectional human rights framework that we're better able to understand the ways that these issues are connected, and that we need to make more possible for people to have families, for people to have children, right? When people are making $7 an hour, like they can't bring a child into this world, and a lot of people are forced to, right? And some people want to, but some people don't want to do that, right? And so we're of the belief that abortion is something that should be accessible to people, and that we should have the autonomy to determine our life chances, right? Recognizing that saying yes to raising a child, saying yes to carrying a pregnancy to term, deeply informs what's possible for people. And recognizing through history, right, that controlling people's bodies through enslavement, through the prison industrial complex, is one of the ways that the state has maintained control over Black communities. And so that's sort of my answer to like that talking point. I also just think like, it's helpful sometimes, how some people say, like, if you're on the same side of the United States, when we're thinking about international politics and things like that, maybe like revisit how you arrived at those conclusions. And I sort of like to say that around the conversation around abortion and reproductive justice in general. Thinking about who else is in alignment with some of the things that you are espousing, and are they in alignment with other sort of issues that Black people are prioritizing, or that are and deeply informing our material realities is sort of my response to that.
So in terms of the education that the ARC Southeast and other groups like yours are having to do now in this post-Roe world, because it's I guess coincidentally or not coincidentally, in a lot of these states where abortion is restricted, there's a lot of abstinence only education. There are restrictions to whether or not younger people can get access to contraceptives, birth control, condoms, even Plan B. It seems to be a conspiracy to force, as you said, to force people into pregnancy, to force them to give birth by not educating them in the first place about how not to get pregnant. So what are some of the challenges that you may find around that, specifically educating around sex and pregnancy in our communities that, sometimes can lean culturally conservative? You shouldn't be having sex till you get married and all this. Okay, well, let's live in the real world here, people, So talk to us about what that level of education, because that is political education, making making the young people aware about how their bodies work and how babies are made. Talk to us about that work.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you for asking about that, because as you said, we fund abortion and help people with practical support, but we do so much more than that. We have a monthly peer-to-peer support group for our callers where they gather to create community, to have discussions. Like I said, most of them are parents. And so we're able to even be in dialogue about some of the sort of challenges of parenting and connect folks to necessary resources. For a long time, we have a concentration of reproductive justice organizations here in Atlanta. For a long time, we have been organizing around the issue of comprehensive sex education, and creating alternatives outside of the traditional school space for having those conversations. A number of organizations run like summer institutes and camps for as it relates to youth engagement, or have youth ambassadors on campuses even to have conversations with young people about their bodies, right? And so that's part of the work that we do as it relates to political education. We also partner with organizations to distribute Plan B, emergency contraception, which is different than abortion, and that gets confused in the media as well. But Plan B is something that costs money if you go to the CVS to try to access it. And so we try to lessen the barrier to access by partnering with organizations. Karis Books and More, for example, is one of our community outposts where we partner with them to distribute Plan B to communities free of cost, no questions asked. With the Plan B that we distribute information about emergency contraception and about myths that are commonly associated with contraception. And so thinking of creative ways to both meet a community need through mutual aid as well as educating people about the issues that are directly impacting the folks that call our health line. And I think, you know, it's through helping people broaden their understanding of reproductive justice and situating that in a larger human rights framework so that we're able to understand that what we're seeing in our society, the repression that we're seeing is these issues are not separate from each other, right? Like reproductive justice is not separate from the issue of policing in Atlanta, where they're trying to build this cop city. And we know that the police will be responsible for enforcing these unjust abortion bans, right? And so those of us who care about abortion access need to deeply care about the militarization of the police and of the allocating of public money even to policing when we have such an abysmal healthcare system. And so we do a lot of community education in partnership with other reproductive justice organizations. And we're working really hard to form relationships with other folks that are working around issues that are impacting our callers, like organizations that are addressing, you know, formula shortages when that's happening, and meeting various needs in the community so that we can be community, right? And so, and not rely on the state and build power. That's another thing that is really important to the work that we're doing at ARC. We're thinking about what it means to build power outside of, you know, passing this legislation for reproductive health rights and justice. What does it look like to change culture? And like you said, especially spaces that lean conservative around issues of reproductive health. I think that there are age appropriate ways to have conversations with young people about their bodies and how babies are made. And the research indicates that people are able to make more informed decisions, more healthy decisions about their bodies later on in life. And so I think if we truly believe that we want young people to have the tools that they need, we truly believe in the values around self-determination as Black people, then we have to be in alignment with reproductive justice, and that includes advocating for people to make their own decisions.
So let's talk about the work, the additional work that the ARC Southeast does as it relates to providing resources and logistical support for women to get access to abortion care. Because I mean, looking at the map of where abortion is restricted in this country, I mean, it is not exclusively the South, obviously, but where Black people live, it's a solid block. And I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of an expectant person who may want or need to get access to abortion care. And if I live deep in Georgia, if I live deep in Mississippi, I've got a very long ride ahead of me before I can get to a place where abortion care is being provided. So on average, if you could give us sort of like an anecdotal example of, you know, a client that you have helped provide services to. And when we're talking about the cost, we're not just talking obviously about the cost of the procedure, but there is transportation. As you said, people who are seeking abortions oftentimes already have children walking around and breathing. So someone's got to watch these kids while mama got to take a long road trip. Gas is high, food is high, lodging is high. What is the average person who is seeking an abortion when they're coming to the ARC Southeast for help? Talk to us about the cost and the logistics truly of trying to get that person there and back to receive this medical care.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I'm really glad that you asked it. Because as you say, it's more complicated than we understand it to be. And so we help people close the gap on the cost of an abortion. And that is tremendously helpful for so many people. Since the overturn of Roe, we have been spending a lot more on logistical and practical support. We've had callers who were beyond the 6-week mark in Georgia who needed to go to New York for an appointment. And
I'm sorry, say that
yeah.
we lost you real quick, Jaleesa. Can you repeat that? You had a caller,
Yeah.
people
From
go ahead.
Georgia that needed to go to New York for an appointment. And they needed to travel with a companion. And so ARC covered the cost of flight for this caller, their companion, cover the cost for food, cover the cost for hotel. Sometimes there are instances in the case of this caller where they needed to actually go to a hospital after their procedure. And so their return flight needed to be rebooked and rescheduled, which increased cost. They needed to stay an additional night in the hotel. And so thousands of dollars that trip would have cost this caller had they not had the support of ARC as well as other funds. So one of the things about abortion funds is that we work collaboratively with other organizations to support callers. There could be one single caller that's supported by multiple funds. And so the cost can vary because it also depends on where a caller is in their gestation. One of the goals of having a 6-week ban is that most folks don't find out that they're pregnant by the 6-week mark. As someone who's been pregnant twice, I can attest to that fact that most people find out after that. So this, they try to present it as you have an opportunity to have your abortion earlier on, but that's simply not how it works, right? And so depending where people are in their gestation, and like you said, and our entire region is very restrictive as it relates to care, with repressive legislation having just passed in Florida and just last night in North Carolina. The veto was overturned. And so I'm reading that this morning, right? That's the news that we're waking up to. And North Carolina was a state that a lot of Georgia callers were traveling to access care. With the influx of folks traveling out of region, state clinics are also seeing longer wait times. The longer you have to wait for your appointment, the more your abortion will cost you, right? And so the clock is ticking, the price is going up. And as you said, food is astronomical, travel prices are very expensive. Childcare is impossible. We don't talk about the childcare crisis in this country enough, but it's pushing more and more people out of the workforce because it's really not cost efficient to go to work and to send your children to daycare. And so when we talk about the hidden costs associated with accessing care now, it's in the thousands, and it can vary based on how long someone needs to wait for their appointment because these clinics out of the region are seeing an influx of callers from the region. And so it can range anywhere from $750 to $10,000, right? It can, the price can climb, and we do as much as we can to try to close the gaps for as many people. But we're seeing a decrease in callers, but an increase in need for support with the practical components.
Jaleesa, where can people find more information about how to support the ARC Southeast in the very vital, life-saving work that you guys are doing on behalf of Black women and families?
Yeah, definitely connect with us, arc-southeast.org. There are ways to tap in as a volunteer to support us with practical support. If that's something that you'd be interested in, to help us fundraise or to donate. We're really wanting to think of abortion funding as a mutual aid practice.
Absolutely.
Because it is a mutual aid practice. So wanting to encourage people to think of it as that and see themselves as ambassadors, have conversations with people about abortion. One of the things that we try to do is shift culture, right? And so we have to do that through dialogue. So thank you for having me. Through like conversations, talking about it, I make it a point to talk about these things with my family. So they know what I'm up to, Jaleesa's over there doing that thing, but and sometimes it can be uncomfortable, but I think it's really important to remember that our people are justice-oriented people. And so I think that it's through really connecting the dots for folks that we're able to help people understand how important abortion access and reproductive justice is to our collective struggle.
I was about to let you go, Jaleesa, but I have one more question to pop up in my head because I'm just curious. Like, I mean, in your experience doing this kind of work, especially in the age of these abortion bans, specifically in Georgia, how receptive have Black churches been to assisting this work? Are you finding that the Black church community is helping to educate its parishioners about these abortion bans? And trying to assist their members who may not want to be kids, or are they kind of getting the opposite messaging? Well, you got pregnant.
Right.
God said.
Right,
God
right.
said.
God said.
What's been the response of the Black Christian community? Because we know
Right.
church is huge in our community.
Right. Church is huge, and that's why we haven't left them out in our organizing strategy here in the repro space in Atlanta. We have a reproductive faith coalition, and it's not just Christians, it's interfaith, but we have our folks that are supporting helping people understand what the Bible actually says, right? Like, and helping people like deeply understand how important our bodily sovereignty, and pushing back on some of the ways that there's been a mismanagement of like the messaging from the Bible to be incredibly coercive, and we've seen this across history and time, right? But to be incredibly coercive towards the aims of reproductive oppression. So yeah, we even have organizations like Sacred Repro, right? That's an organization that specifically focuses on that issue. We have Heart, which is a Muslim organization that focuses on reproductive justice and sexual health. And then we have, our folks like Reverend Kenyatta Chinwe, who's based here in Atlanta. Shout out to my friend, who is, doing really important work around that. And so I would say it's a mixture, but there has been some this movement around that, and we know how important spirituality is for our folks, and so we are really intentional with ensuring that we understand how important that is to engage with folks around that and as it relates to reproductive justice. So
okay,
yeah.
I appreciate your answer. Jaleesa Jackson, the interim executive director of the ARC Southeast, also the founder of the Decolonial Feminist Collective. Jaleesa, thank you so much for informing us, sharing your information, and doing the work that you do to help Black mothers and families, Black families, period, in your community. But this is vital work because we are under attack right now. This is a genocide policy that is being enacted right in front of our faces. Everybody, is happening right now. So bless you, sis, for the work that everybody does surrounding this very important vital work. So thank you so much, Jaleesa, for making time. Shout out to Dev. Thank you, Dev, for hooking this up.
And thanks for contributing to ARC and featuring ARC for your fundraiser. We really appreciate the work. And like I said, as mutual aid, like so much of our funds go directly back to community to help connecting them to care. And so we appreciate y'all.
Oh, of course. And I challenge all of our remixers, all of the BPM community. You can join Burn It Down with Kim Brown this month. For the month of May, we are supporting the ARC Southeast as our abortion fund. We support an abortion fund every month because Roe versus Wade got overturned almost a year ago, and our people are in dire straits. So we encourage and challenge our BPM viewers to join us this month in supporting the ARC Southeast. Not just this month, but every month. So Jaleesa, thank you again, sis. I certainly appreciate you making the time.
Thank you.
Remixers, thank you, baby. Remixers, stay tuned. We're coming right back to you. It's Black Power Media. And we back to a full house.
That was fantastic.
Oh my gosh, Jackie,
that was so fantastic.
I cannot overstate how much and how much I appreciate people like Jaleesa, people like Devin, people who are doing this work. Like, y'all, this shit is so serious. Like, it is such a big deal. Like, everybody's hair should be on fire. I'm not familiar with the news that Jaleesa was sharing with us, breaking with us, really, but it sounds as though now North Carolina is now another state that has enacted a very draconian abortion ban. I don't know what the particulars are. I don't know if it's 6 weeks or whatever. But now, I mean, again, I'm putting myself in the shoes of a pregnant person who lives deep in Georgia, deep in Alabama, deep in Mississippi. I used to could go to Florida to go to get the abortion. Now can't go to Florida. Mike could have gone to North Carolina. Can't go to North Carolina. So now where I got to go? All the way to fucking Illinois, to Maryland, to New York. You know what I'm saying? This shit is untenable out here, and it's going to cause permanent damage to members of our community, not just from people who are forced into birth, but people who might die as a result of not being able to access abortion care. Like, this is serious shit, everybody. This is affecting Black women, Black children, Black families. So don't look at abortion as that's some chick shit. No, this is everybody's shit. This is everybody. Sorry.
And I really appreciate the last question you asked, Kim, because that component of engaging the faith community, all the faith community, in organizing for Black people, that is so incredibly important. I am so uninterested in what people's personal opinions about people's personal spiritual beliefs are. If you are concerned with justice for our people, if you think you are going to organize without involving the faith community, then you are seriously misinformed. And please understand that every faith tradition does not see these issues of bodily autonomy in the same way. This idea that women are disdained by God to be child bearers, and that's our highest aim and most holy aim in life, you do realize that is almost uniquely a white supremacist Christian ideology, right? And that's not something that is believed in Judaism. That is not even something that is believed in Islam. I don't know how people can't make the connection that it's this Christian, a white supremacist Christian ideology, that a woman's body doesn't belong to her, but it belongs to God, and it belongs to her husband. Come on. So I thank you. I thank you so much for that. And that's why I stayed in the background and did not get involved in you having this conversation with Jaleesa, because y'all know how I get. And I'm just like, nope, I just need Jaleesa to do what she do. And I'm just gonna sit back and let the knowledge flow. And thank you so much, Kim.
Oh my God,
excellent interview. I agree. I got to meet Jaleesa for the first time, actually. You know, she lives here in Atlanta over the weekend at a festival, and so she's a great organizer and worker. I do have one complaint, though.
Nobody care.
No. I think everybody wants to hear.
No.
So she kept messing with her earphone thing. It kept making this funny noise, and the funny noise.
Kamau was talking about sound issues.
Yeah, it was just distracting me. I don't understand what the problem was.
Protest.
Yeah.
Mr. Church going on over there.
I was gonna say.
Right. Thank you, Jackie. Do you see?
Her earphone was interrupting Kamau's church.
He just got his mic plugged in last.
I didn't know what the issue was. I was like, "Yo, what's up with that?" I'm just saying.
But the funny thing is, we know what the issue is behind you, sir. We know what the issue is with the chirp behind you, and you refuse to address it.
Let's not distract.
Boost Mobile family plan. Leave that man alone.
Do we have any other news stories you want to get to?
Yeah, I got a news story. Come out. If that goddamn smoke detector still chirping tomorrow, I'm gonna be outside your house, dog. I'm gonna be outside your house with a pack of 9-volt
step away. All we gotta do is get that battery. We gotta get that.
I'm gonna bust you upside the head with a pack of 9-volt batteries. Like, come out. If you don't change this goddamn battery out this goddamn smoke detector.
It was raining yesterday. I couldn't make it to the store because it was raining yesterday.
I do not care. That shit better not be chirping tomorrow.
I got you.
That shit better not be chirping tomorrow.
Couldn't go to the store because it was
people
raining?
in the chat too. Yeah, it was raining. I couldn't make it out. I was going to send Khalid, but he hurt himself when he took the battery out. And Maya was busy doing, Maya had to cook dinner again. So, I had no hands. No hands was on deck.
Ain't no better not be no chirping tomorrow.
Again, was doing laundry. So nobody was free.
I want to shout out Sister Erica for lacing us with a bunch of stories and
Springfield
for
student. You see that?
What happened?
Did you see the one about the Springfield teacher calling the student?
Because I was selfishly pulling up the story that she posted for us that dovetails with the interview I just did yesterday about this very story about Black women, Black birthing workers, and doulas.
Texas.
So this one here, could coverage for doula care drive down Texas's high maternal mortality rate? So again, shout out to Sakisa Berry. If folks missed it, please do go check. And to Kalanji's point of a couple of days ago, it's odd. It's always interesting to see what does numbers on our channel and what doesn't. And
what did numbers and what didn't?
What did? Yeah, exactly. And
what did numbers? I'm asked. That's a question.
I'm about to say. So disappointingly, this relative to our channel, this discussion that I had with Sakisa is lagging, and I'm a little disappointed given that it's a discussion about Black children, babies, families, birth, women struggling with this very issue here, maternal mortality rates. And what alternatives exist, the history of Black women in these fields, even the racist origin of the word doula that I didn't learn until yesterday, which apparently comes from a Greek word for slave.
You know, Jared, and to your point, I did a similar show and the numbers were the same. It's odd, and the show was great yesterday. Odd. I know she's out of Atlanta as well.
It's not odd, gentlemen. We miscalculate the levels of misogyny. I mean, and that can manifest itself in indifference. You know what I'm saying? People don't even have to actively hate women; they just don't care.
No, but we have a lot of women on the platform as well. So it's not like the numbers were excessively low. So it wasn't just, brothers didn't care because
I didn't say just brothers, but I mean, but you guys, but YouTube is an overwhelmingly misogyny, but I mean, too. Absolutely, but also, but YouTube is an overwhelmingly male platform. So I mean, so I'm not surprised by that, and that's not just specifically to this channel. That's the whole of the app. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole thing. There's way more men watching YouTube than there are women.
Well, the point I was getting at was the fact that we had some powerful dynamite women on, and these particular views were less than many of the clips that we clipped. And I think that when it comes to things like doulas and midwifery, oftentimes it's kind of overlooked because it's not a shocking headline or whatever the case is. But I definitely implore folks to go check out the show that Jared did yesterday with the sister Sakisa, is that correct?
Sakisa Berry. And the same thing with the Daughters of the Whirlwind show. Like, I think all of these shows like more, and Brokish too while we at it. Anyway, just throw that out. Everybody just go watch more of all the BPM does, and then we could just put all this to bed. You know what I'm saying? Stop with all the, But anyway, but as I'm admitting, selfishly, I thought it's great. And I think, and I'm just going to say this, Sister Erica did this on purpose as a follow-up to the discussion by bringing us this story, because this is exactly what came up, maternal mortality rates, and particularly for Black women, and how midwifery can often be a help to that. So anyway, just quick a little bit here. The baby's heart rate was fluctuating for minutes more than natural ebbs and flows that Natasha Sobers, a doula of 7.5 years based in San Antonio, was used to seeing in the delivery room. My gut was telling me I need to walk out and say something. She said, you always want to straddle this fine line of not wanting to tell someone how to do their job, but it was not enough to be concerned. So then apparently there is... I'm not going to read the entire article, obviously, but there was a back and forth. Do you know, not necessarily with a doula, but we had that issue too. We had a strong during the delivery of our first child. We had a nurse who thought she knew better than the doctor, and who was herself a woman, and a Black Panamanian woman at that, and she got. It got a little, she was like, look at here, Karen, Nurse Karen.
Oh yeah.
Wait, what happened? So what happened? I'm confused.
Oh, so well, the nurse, there was some tent because our first daughter took a particularly long time, and it was getting to the point where alternatives were starting to be considered. And the nurse, I'm forgetting the exact detail of the medical issue, but or the argument, and I was in a little bit of a confused, terrified state myself. So I was just kind of standing there like, where do I go? What do I do? What do I say? But I just watched this exchange, and the nurse, said, I think this is what should happen. And the doctor, chirped, like not chirped, like barked, was like, I got this. I know what I'm like, was like, you go stand over there. Like, like she pulled rank. And it turned out in this case, it was the correct. Everything worked perfectly, so it turned out to be correct. And it was good for my wife because she had a rapport with this woman, sisters from the home country and all this other kind of stuff and all this stuff. But Karen, Nurse Karen, felt the kind of way, and she was in her bag about, doctors don't always know best. And this one was like, this one does. And but anyway, my point is, I can understand why it would be good, whether it's the doctor or a doula. I get why it's good to have the mother in a comfort zone with whoever is in charge, or to have someone there that is advocating specifically for her with some sort of prior established relationship that this nurse did not have in our case. So anyway, and that was a lot.
I was going to say quickly, we didn't have that in our case. Oh, I was going to say we didn't have that in our case. We had, and I think one was because we had just both times it was because we had recently moved, so we didn't have long established folks that we work with, and that turned out to be detriments. And I think even I've known women who've had either doulas or midwives who've talked about their sort of much more better experience, either in terms of doing it at home or having somebody who could advocate for them. But it felt like, there's always this, I think, and it just speaks more to the hospital care in general. One was the idea that they just completely set up time periods for not birth. What's the, when they cut you again? I'm sorry.
Episiotomy.
C-section.
No, not
C-sections.
C-section, yeah, not the complicated word, Kim. The C-section.
That's another different cut too.
The C-section, they
scheduled
it just based on, and again, obviously I know there's precautions because again, it was older, so there was precautions, but it was almost like it was definitely around, I don't want to say people's golf schedules, but it definitely was fitting a certain scheduling of like, I can deliver during these dates, as opposed to, I think the baby is scheduled to come around this time period. And so let's have this time period in which you come in, blah, blah, blah. And then even at one point in Mississippi, there was a fluid drop that was supposed to be easing, I guess numbing, her area. And it was like, an hour later, it's like, is it numb yet? It's like, no. An hour later, it came back, is it numb yet? It's like, no. It's like, and they, they were flicking. They were like, oh shit, it's not dripping. And, it was like, thanks. So it was like those kind of things was like, it was like, it's, you're lessening your confidence in terms of how the care is given, how interested, and I'm not giving a blanket condemnation of all the medical sphere.
No,
but a lot of times it feels like it's a little lackadaisical in terms of what it could be, like the amount of work, the amount of patients people are seeing. But it wasn't that you really get the feeling of everything's about to go right. You know what I mean? Like, obviously things did work out, similarly, whatever, if it worked out well. But there was those periods of adjustment when you're just like, am I about to have to, like what's happening up in here? What's going on?
Yeah. With us, we've done like home birth with the midwives and also the hospital. Now, the last hospital joint, it almost got physical because the doctor himself, they kept trying to force the whole some type of shot. They was talking about sticking a needle into my son's head. No, into his head through the I believe through the
amniotic sac.
Yeah. So, and I was like, hell no. And on top of that, they were talking about giving them some type, of course, with the and they were trying to talk him into getting the vaccinations and all that type of stuff. And I said no. So I left out the room, and I already told this doctor, this was happened to be a male doctor from Morehouse. I go downstairs, and my child's godmother calls me like, look, they're up here again trying to convince her to do such and such. So I came back in and I said, listen, man, I already told you what the deal was. So they looked at her, you sure you want to? I said, listen, man, I already told you the decision we made. She told you. She also told you to talk to me because she's in pain, right? And I already said what I said. Dude gonna turn around and grill me all hard, I guess because he thought he was black. He's gonna try some bullshit. I said, my man, let me tell you something. You're in the right place to fuck with me right now. You understand what I'm saying? Because they're gonna have to wheel you out of here if you try anything with my child. That sounds like a threat. I don't want to have to call security. I said, listen, my man, I'm gonna be here for this birth. And if you call security, you better call a lot of security. You understand what I'm saying? Because it's going to be a problem. But they will try their very best, especially when they feel you're at the most vulnerable state, to do whatever they feel they can do. And they figure that the man or the father, doesn't know what's going on or has no stake in it or whatever, so on and so forth. So they just kept being persistent until to the moment where it's literally like about to go down, because now I'm pissed, because now I'm feeling like you're not respecting our wishes, number one. And secondly, why are you pushing so hard to stick a needle in my son's scalp? I was confused about that. Then after that, I'm always cutting the cord, but also we demand the placenta. Oh, what do you want? What are you going to do with it?
Not your business.
That ain't your business.
Well, are you sure? It's spiritual. Oh, what religion you practice?
That also not your business.
Not a cracker. That's the name of the religion. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, don't worry about it. But it's like these folks are really weird as to how they operate, and I see why no one in their right mind trusts the medical system because of how they move. And then they want to take the child out of the room, but we're going to no, we can do this. We can do everything you need done right here. Oh, well, we can give them this shot. Look, dude, but I mean, it's crazy. But I would definitely, if possible, if folks can afford it, and also if it's practical, because of the fact that sometimes, a midwife can't, there's certain issues or whatever that you would have to go, like your the cord wrapped around the neck or whatever the case is. There's certain things that you might have to seek, other means or whatever. But, the home birth is always, it seems, that was the easiest. It was just like, stand right here and, oh man, where did this come from?
I hear all of that. I would like for the revolution to occur, because I don't like that that so much of this has to come down to what individuals determine as a best, or can afford, or what is the best practice on our own study. I don't want to have to study what the hell is supposed to happen. I don't want to live in a world where I don't trust a medical, a studied professional community to do the right thing. Because I don't like all the individual analyses that we have to develop for our healthcare. It's whack, and it's scary. So,
and even outside of childbirth, we have to keep in mind, aside from just general medical apartheid, the medical community in this country, at least, doesn't know a damn thing about women's bodies. And they honestly don't care to know much more about women's bodies. The medical communities, that they don't understand basic stuff like menopause and fibroids and just how our bodies just work generally, because again, the only interest that this white supremacist patriarchal system has in understanding healthcare for women is that we have babies, and anything outside of that, they don't give a damn. They don't care. So that is at the bedrock of women's problems in the medical system in this country. And if you're a Black woman or Latinx or an indigenous woman in particular, you see that in every instance in your interaction with the medical care, whether it is in the context of having of birthing a child, or just, you know, seeing a doctor for you know, premenopause or whatever. It's a mess.
And it seems like your level of care, especially if we're talking about, you know, gynecological care, like whatever treatment is based around, oh, well, you're still, you know, you're still of childbearing age. So we just want to make sure that if you want to have a baby, you can still have a baby. I was like, no, ain't nobody tripping. You can do what you need to do. Like, not like stop assuming, like stop basing my care based off whether or not I can or will or am able to have children. Like, why don't you just fix me? You know what I'm saying? Like, let me worry about that shit. You don't worry about that shit. Do what you fuck you need to do down there. You know what I mean? So anyway.
Yeah.
Like I do like the stat that
do what you need to do down there.
Do what you need to do. I need no more questions.
Yeah, tread lightly.
But I like the stat. I like the stat that was put up about Cuba. Like, you know, 50 years ago, whatever, highest infant mortality rate in the Western Hemisphere, I think, and now the lowest. And so this is not strictly about how much money gets thrown at the healthcare system, right? Because America has literally billions of dollars invested in the healthcare system. This is really about the making sure that the healthcare system is geared towards what's best for patients, right? What's best for people who are experiencing health issues. What's the best way to treat people so that they don't have to continue coming back to the doctor, or what's in the best interest of both the baby, if we're talking about maternity or whatever, both the child and the parents, right? So those kind of things are not things that the American system is fully geared towards. You know what I mean? I'm not suggesting, I'm individually not suggesting that it's the worst system in the world, but in terms of Western systems of medicine, its counterparts perform so much more and better and healthier outcomes for those who go to those systems than what happens here in the United States, because it is based on again, you may get a better level of care than some other places here, but it's really based on what you can afford, right? Because the places that when you cannot afford, you may have good, experienced doctors, nurses, practitioners, but you're also getting folks who are overwhelmed by a system that floods certain areas because it's only one hospital for that whole area or city or whatever it is. And so those outcomes are also due to the fact that the people who are the healthcare professionals, those who are trying to even do right at times, are overwhelmed by the amount of folks that they go to and stuff like that. So I think all of that, you know, plays these huge roles, but particularly capitalism in the healthcare outcomes that we get here, because the basis of it is profit as opposed to what's best for those who are being served by the system.
And listen, with the implementation of all these abortion laws, it has caused a ripple effect of a desert of obstetricians and gynecologists, particularly in rural areas. OBGYNs are afraid to practice. They are afraid to practice medicine in some of these abortion restrictive states because they are afraid that they will be legally responsible or culpable some way if they provide abortion care for someone that needs it. So this is having a domino effect on the ways that in which women can just, even women who want to have kids. Imagine how far you must travel to get to a gynecologist to make sure that, you know, everything is prepared for you to experience a pregnancy and hopefully bear a healthy child. So all of this abortion restriction is actually having a detrimental effect on people who want to be pregnant and have children.
Oh, it gets tiring, you know, having to continually have the conversation with people who honestly show themselves over and over again who really don't give a damn about a whole woman. All they care about is our damn uterus and what can come out of us. The rest of us, the rest of our whole being, they don't give a shit about. So guess what? Fuck you.
Just a girl.
Just supply the labor force and we can keep it moving. Thank you, ladies.
You're welcome. And
next wave of exploitable labor. Thank you. Appreciate you.
I am revolutionarily barren on purpose. That is my revolutionary stance. I am not providing no more workers to this capitalist system. Sorry. You don't get no workers out of me. My bad. Your bad.
And on that note, in appreciation for the absence of another worker, we made it through a day without the ear doctor. So we'll try again tomorrow morning. Thanks to the remixers and everyone who will see this here later. Appreciate you. As Fred Hampton always said, peace if you're willing to fight for it. See you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Peace.